Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Well, hello, my beloved friends. Thank you for joining me for this week's Astro Weather Report. And this week we're looking at the astral energies that are playing out in the sky from the 6th of August to the 13th of August. Thanks for joining me. Now, keep in mind as I do this reading that this is a personal reading, but it's a general reading. So I'm not looking at the big collective influences on countries and corporations and so on and so on. Not the big collective experience we're all living through right now. Rather, I'm looking at what's going to be happening for you personally, but this is a general read. It's not, obviously I can't see your chart to know how this is interacting with you on a very personal level, but generally what can we expect in the week to come? So don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Like this video, share this video in order to go into the August competition to win a written solar return report from Guiding Star Astrology. Everybody loves a solar return report. These solar return reports are fantastic. They are for sale on my website. Go to the link in the description below if you'd like to order one now. But at the end of August, I will draw somebody who has liked, shared and subscribed, or who is already a subscriber to my channel to be the winner of this month's Solar Return Report. Fantastic. So I want to mention before we dive into the all signs breakdown, or the energy that's playing out for this week, and then the all signs breakdown, I should say, I want to mention, shout out to Tara, one of my Royal Stars Royal Stars Academy students, who we had our discussion group this week. We have a monthly discussion group where we ask questions, share insights, look at charts together and learn. It's a wonderful experience. We're all enjoying it very, very much. And Tara, one of my students, pointed out to me this week that I had taught in one of my classes that Uranus rules nitrogen. Now that had skipped my mind because obviously I'm not a computer and I don't remember absolutely every fine detail, but it was very interesting to me for Tara to point out to me and recall Uranus rules nitrogen. And what have the farmers been protesting about all over the world is rules and regulations, Saturn in Aquarius squaring Uranus, which rules nitrogen emissions and so forth. Use of nitrogen rather, sorry, not emissions, use of nitrogen. So we've got the rules and regulations trying to limit the amount of nitrogen fertilizer. So I was just flabbergasted by that. And this is just one of the many wonderful things that we explore and discover together when we come and chat about astrology in the Royal Stars Academy group. I am in the process of preparing the second level for the Royal Stars Academy. And it's blowing my mind, quite frankly, as I go back into all the nitty gritty and the depths of astrology. This second level is going to be very long. It's going to be a very big course, but as is the case if you're studying to get a certification with a certified body. So I love the Royal Stars Academy. I'm loving this second level that I'm putting together that will be released next year. But if you want to jump in early and start working your way through level 1, then why not head over to the Royal Stars Academy on Thinkific and sign up. Thank you, Tara. Shout out to you, my darling friend. Okay, let's have a look at the energy that is playing out in the week ahead. Well, on the 8th of August, which I believe from recollection might be the anniversary of Elvis's birthday or death, I think. So kudos to, a shout out rather to everyone who was once married to an Elvis impersonator as I was. But anyway, 8th of August, Venus is going to be trining Neptune. Hello, beauty. This is, I should draw this on the chart. Give me a second. I've left my texter in the drawer. Magic of editing. I'll disappear and come back with my texter. And I'm back. Don't you love the wonders of modern technology? So we're Venus trining to Neptune. So Neptune's here in Pisces and Venus is up here at the sort of getting to the latter degrees of Cancer. Bang, that's a trine. So a beautiful energy. This is a glorious transit, and it's arriving to give us divine love, divine emotional fulfillment, empathy, and personal connections that are going to support us for this couple of days around the 8th of August. Delightful indeed. Some people might experience falling in love with this in this transit, especially if they have personal planets around the latter degrees, sort of 24, 25 degrees of Cancer and 24, 25 degrees of Pisces. We might feel the energy of falling in love under this influence, which is quite beautiful. Some might experience a great deal of tenderness and romance with their current partners. Whatever the case, our ability to feel comfortable with other people is enhanced today. Our intuition is increased too. Neptune's a highly intuitive planet. It's one of the outer planets, so it's very psychological. And when it's activated by a beautiful benefic like Venus, I didn't even know that was a thing, Venus, then our intuition is increased and we feel inspired, we feel uplifted, and we feel calm. So bring on the 8th of August. That energy is going to be beautiful. Trust your intuition and judgments based on this energy. Indulge in love and romance, and you can't go wrong. This includes self-love in whatever ways enhance your own personal delight with life. So even if you're single like me, this is a great energy to do something that delights your life. And indeed, I'm doing something wonderful. I'm going to go on a little trip, little holiday with my best friend, my daughter, and we're having a getaway. So yay, Venus loveliness. Not that Venus rules trips and holidays. Neptune can rule faraway places, so maybe that's where that's coming in. But it's certainly going to be an indulgence and a special treat for the both of us. Also on the 8th of August, and this one, not so nice, okay? So we're going to get a mixed bag of energy on the 8th of August, the anniversary of Elvis's death. This one is a bit of a doozy. Mars is squaring Saturn. So here is Saturn down here in Aquarius. Well, we know he's forming square aspects to to Uranus in the coming months, but he's also squaring Mars first off. Mars, who's just moving out of the conjunction with Uranus and the North Node, okay? So you know that old Coke bottle analogy? You know, the lid's on tight, you shake the Coke bottle till it feels like your arm's gonna fall off, and then you unscrew the top or you flip it off or whatever you do, and the bubbles go everywhere. That's what Mars-Saturn energy is like. We are the Coke in the Coke bottle under this influence, okay? So get ready. Boom. You know, we have no means of expressing our frustration that is satisfying to us, and we get agitated and frustrated, and the agitation builds up, and someone just pushes our button very slightly, and boom, it's too late. Our anger spills out everywhere. So be forewarned, forearmed about this one. You know, our desires, our needs, they are powerful under this energy. Our passions, Mars, powerfully not that Saturn is amplifying it, far from it. Saturn restricts and blocks things. But our Mars energy wants to come out, you know, wants to be felt, wants to be by us, wants to be heard, wants to be experienced, and Saturn's saying, no way, hold it in, keep it calm, you know, manage your emotions. But no, we can't fight it, and things come out. We can't seem to express as we would like in a calm, detached manner. There's resistance at every turn. Just when we think we have a foot in the door slams on the foot and makes us yelp in pain. This is the energy of Mars square Saturn. So how is this forming? In what ways are we experiencing this in life? Authority figures putting the kibosh on us, bosses, superiors. So this could be governments. It could be if you're in a relationship, for example, where there is an imbalance of power in the relationship. It could be the more authoritative one, the one who is controlling and dominating in a relationship, causing the one who is not so in that position of power or dominance to stir up like Mars. So Saturn is the position of dominance and power, superiority or so-called superiority, sometimes self-imposed superiority. All these sort of external authority factors that are putting the kibosh on the Mars energy. So we find that under this square, outside approval is impossible to find, and especially from our peers, the authority figures in our life, bosses, superiors, father figures, partners who are wearing the pants kind of thing, and it is a difficult energy. What do we do? How do we handle it? Well, we do our own hard work now. We don't look for appreciation for other people. We don't expect that they're going to give it to us because they're not going to. We don't expect to be valued or appreciated. We just get on with our own Mars highly independent, asserting our will in our life in our way. We have autonomy over our life. We actually do. It's just that so much of the time we are raised and brainwashed by our societies that we live in to give our own free will away in the service of other people. And believe me, I'm Pisces rising. I know all about this. It's a terrible, toxic trait of Pisces people to give themselves away for the sake of others. And there are other signs that also do this as well. And our society encourages it, pushes it, promotes it. I mean, that's how you keep people under control, by thinking they've got to give themselves away and be kind and be subservient to others, and we lose our sense of willpower and autonomy. I want to tell you on this day, don't do it in a way that exacerbates, the authority figures out there, just silently give them the bird. Don't sort of throw it in their face. Or, don't do it in a way to exacerbate and stir up the Coke bottle even more, but approve of yourself, appreciate yourself, assert yourself in your own life, make choices for yourself wherever and however you can. That eases the tension of the Coke bottle experience when we have some sense of control, empowerment, autonomy over our own life in some way. And if you do feel like you're about to burst, consciously get it out of your system in ways that are helpful. For example, write that letter to the government, to your boss, to your stupid partner, to your authority. Sorry, not all partners are stupid, but the one who's screwing down the thumb on you, that would be a stupid partner. I just to give you my 2 cents, take it or leave it, but I think true love gives the partner freedom. What's that old adage? Set it free. If it returns to you, it was yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours in the first place. Freedom is the hallmark of love, in my opinion. So if you've got a partner who's putting the thumb on you, then it's not true love. It's control. It's manipulation. It's coercion. It's very Plutonian. So write that letter to that person who is putting the restrictions on you. The Saturn rules, regulations, you will do it this way or else. You will get the jab or else. You will fit this parameter or else. Write that letter. You don't have to send it, but just write it out of your system and let it sit there for a couple of days until this energy of Saturn square Mars is dissipated, and then decide what you're going to do. Will I send this letter, or will I just put it in the fire? That's a Mars thing, to put something in the fire and let it burn the energy away. Give it a couple of days, give it 3 days to think about it, and then make the choice. And the energy will have changed by then. You might have a different perspective. You might have a different way of asserting yourself. So that's one way to deal with this frustrated energy. Get it out of the body and onto the piece of paper. Other things you could do: go for a jog, do some sort of, sweat-inducing sport. Sex can be very good under this energy as well, I might add, because even though it's a square, Saturn will give longevity to the experience. So it's not just a wham bam, thank you ma'am. It's like, let's get jiggy with it for a while here. Saturn can give longevity, and Mars is the sexual energy. So in that sense, that's another thing that you can do if you're so inclined, as a way of getting some frustration out of your body. Just a suggestion there. But anything physical, sports, sex, or anything that just gets that tension out of the body by expressing your will, yourself, your autonomy in some way, like writing a letter. That would be my suggestions. So that's the 8th of August. What a doozy. Now, on the 9th of August, we've got Venus making an opposition to Pluto. This is going to be quite an interesting one. They're both at the final degrees of Pluto of Capricorn. And here is Venus. That's rather an awkward opposition line. And Venus in Cancer. So have you ever felt the need to become a recluse in order to lick your wounds? Seems to be constant with me. Today's energy, or the 9th of August's energy, is all about that dynamic. With these two very passionate planets, they're in hard aspect. It brings forward the need to deal with our deepest relational scars, our karmic hang-ups regarding relationships. So often Pluto hard aspects to Venus in a natal chart indicate big trust issues in relationships, usually because there's a karmic past life, wounding, trauma, hurt, even abuse that's involved, and it's scarred the consciousness, it's scarred the psyche. So we need to learn to trust again. We need to learn to love again. I have Venus square Pluto in my natal chart, so that does seem to be a constant theme in my life. Can I trust people enough to give my heart away to them? And these sorts of issues are what's going to come up for us. Whether we've got it in the natal chart or not, trust issues are going to be at the forefront of our relational experiences. And that can be any relational experience, like yes, man, woman, or, straight, gay, whatever. But also, it could be between two women. Can I trust this woman? This woman who said she's my friend, does she really have my back? Is she really understanding where I'm coming from? It could be between two guys. I've told my mate that I like this girl, but I feel like he's going to cut my lunch. Can I trust him? That sort of thing. Now, feelings can get very easily hurt under Pluto opposite to Venus. Breakups manifest under Pluto opposite Venus transits. That is a thing. Cruelty in love occurs under Venus opposite Pluto transits. And I think if those things happen, like cruelty, abuse, torment, that are very dark side Plutonian things, if they crop up in a relationship, that is an energy. But that expression is there in our partner, even if it manifests under this particular energetic expression. So be wary of those sorts of things in relationships now. Also be wary because Venus is financial losses and Pluto is the god of great wealth, like multi-millionaire wealth. So when these two are in opposition, which is a tense aspect, be wary of financial losses that could be caused by another person. Oppositions usually have a representation of self versus others. So somebody, probably the Plutonian side of things, might come in and, maybe that's someone who deceives you, somebody who manipulates you, somebody who controls you, coerces you or whatever, causes a financial loss in your life in some way. So be wary of that sort of thing as well. So a Pluto opposition usually forces us to face the truth. Face our truth, our personal truth. And in this case, the truth regarding our self-worth. Venus rules self-worth. The truth regarding how we value ourselves. Are we in a relationship where we have let our self-honoring go just for the sake of pleasing somebody else? Pluto brings those things out into the light. It forces us to face the truth regarding our relationship difficulties, all sorts of relationship difficulties. It forces us to face the truth around our financial situation. We've been spending money left, right, and center, and sort of head in the sand about it. And Pluto opposite Venus can say, "Now, hang on a minute." Pull you up rather suddenly and go, "Now look at the bank account. What's going on here?" So we have to face the truth of our circumstances. Some people won't like what comes up under this energy, obviously enough that's the case. Some people like to live their life with their head in the sand, pretending everything's happy, putting on that false front that, yes, my relationship's wonderful, oh, my bank account's fine, and yes, I have lots of self-love and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is very different and real once you dig below the surface, and Pluto loves to dig below the surface. So a lot of these things are going to come up and people aren't going to like what they see. But I want you, my friends, to see this as an opportunity, the chance to take action. Oppositions carry the nature of Mars, so they require us to do something about the problem, to set it into balance, where it's like a seesaw. If it's out of balance, if the seesaw's teeter-tottering from side to side, then what are we going to do? What action are we going to take to bring it back into a steady relationship of harmony and balance? Mars wants us to take action, and the reason I mention Mars is because Mars has that's what oppositions carry, the nature of Mars. So in order to bring things into greater balance, in order to bring things into harmony again, you're going to have to take some sort of action. But expect that other people are going to trigger you into, and that will be the cause of you taking action. People are going to push your buttons, raise these issues in your life, make you aware of, oh my goodness, I always self-sabotage, or I don't love myself enough, or whatever, that cause you to do something about it. It's going to come from other people. So what can we expect? Intense emotions, obsessions, jealousies, fear of relationship, even secret affairs can manifest under this influence. So take this message as your warning signal if you need it. Now we're going to be looking at that energy and how it's going to be affecting all signs in the week ahead. But on the 11th of August, we've got the Sun squaring Uranus. Let's draw that one in. Here is the Sun is in Leo and it's squaring Uranus in Taurus, the two fixed signs. So as you can see, there's a lot of aspects forming this week. It's a busy, busy week. All of August is busy. We are going to be dealing with our karmic shit this week. And it's just time. It's time as a collective and personally that we dealt with all our stuff. And so it's going to be a roller coaster ride. And Sun square Uranus is no exception. It's time now for marching to the beat of our own drum, people. Let no one tell you what to do, what to think, how to behave, or most of all, how to express yourself. 11th of August. The trouble is, all this autonomy may rub other people the wrong way. And somehow, life in the material realm, unfortunately, seems to require us to balance the energy of belonging and the energy of individuality. So it can be a challenge. Now the Sun rules Leo, where it's currently sitting, and Uranus rules the opposite sign in modern astrology, Aquarius. So they are two planets that have actually a very similar agenda in terms of autonomy, individuality, and uniqueness. Both Uranus and Leo are like that. And yet they are very much at odds in the astrological world. Uranus in Aquarius, I find, wants to be part of, like, to work for the greater good of all and the liberation of all, but it will do it in a unique and individual way with the aim of unity for everybody. Whereas Leo energy and Sun energy is more about me, my identity, who I am, and being myself in the world for the sake of me. So it's one is group-oriented individualism, and the other is, individually oriented individualism. If you can get your head around that concept, so we might find that with these two making a square aspect, a hard aspect, a sort of a restrictive blocking energy, which is like square aspects carry the nature of Saturn, that the people that we encounter on this day, as I said, the 11th of August, they might cause us to have sort of feelings of frustration, restriction and blockage of who we are, of our identity, of our individualism, of our uniqueness, and we have sudden outbursts again, or this week is full of sudden outbursts and, fiery energy. But if we don't have this outburst of I'm going to express myself and I don't care what you effing think, then another result, if it doesn't express that way, is feeling stagnated, feeling stuck, feeling like you've got the car bogged and you're just spinning your wheels and you can't get out of the situation. Really annoying energy, that one. So a hard aspect like a square, tinged in this case with the restlessness of Uranus and a very uncertain energy. What's going to come of all this? It can be mitigated, forewarned, forearmed, with self-awareness, non-judgment of ourselves and the people in our lives, flexibility. Okay, you're allowed to be you, but equally, I'm allowed to be me and follow my heart, my path. I can accept you. You need to be able to accept me too. That sort of flexibility and acceptance, like I just explained, of the differing journeys of all human beings. That's how we deal with this square. So it really requires a high level vibration and a high level of conscious awareness to navigate this energy wisely and well. But that's my recommendation for all of us. Now, on the 12th of August, we have Venus. I don't need my little marker for this one. Venus is moving into the sign of Leo. So just a little bit about that energy. When Venus is in Leo, we desire to feel special, to feel cherished, to feel precious to someone. It's never more pronounced than when Venus is in the glamorous sign of Leo. So it's a time for seeking mechanisms that make us feel warm and affectionate and giving our love as well as receiving our love. We tend to sort of, Venus is love, and Leo, I actually love Venus in Leo. It's a gorgeous combination because Leo is the joy of life, and Venus is what we love in life. So when these two come together, we tend to find things that make us feel good. Venus in Leo finds ways to, find the joy in life that make us feel all warm and fuzzy. So it's really great. So this means that some partnerships might flourish under a little extra attention. Our dressing and style might become more glamorous with Venus in Leo. Our expenditure could get a tad hedonistic, forewarned, forearmed, if your budget can't handle that. You need to watch your budget while Venus is in Leo. You might end up spending a great deal on entertainments, pleasures, delights that give you joy and that warm, fuzzy feeling, items that are considered lavish or opulent at best. So it can go to the extreme of, hedonism. We can have high expectations of our love lives under this energy, highly romanticized energy, which, nothing wrong with a bit of romance. I think that's wonderful. But especially in situations where we bring both together love and sex, our expectations could be quite high now. And the only warning I would give with that is perhaps, reality can be very different to the expectation, so we could be disappointed. But we do want to put some romantic sizzle back into our lives, some warm and fuzzy joy back into our lives, and this is almost irresistible. It's an insatiable desire for that happiness of Venus in Leo in our relationships and just in our life in general. And there's nothing wrong with that or taking action to fulfill those desires, in my opinion. I think the more love in the world, the better. Love for self, love for others, love for everybody. All right. All signs breakdown. Thanks for sticking with me through that energy report for the week ahead. It is quite a big one, as you can see, and it ain't over yet. August is going to be life-changing, really, for everybody. A lot of my friends and I, we've been talking a lot lately about how the energy is just a little bit buzzy at the moment. We're all feeling a little bit G'd up, like there is something happening. And I remember Dolores Cannon spoke about the time coming when the Earth would she described it as splitting into two, but I'm seeing it happen without sort of a physical splitting into two, where some people are really going one way and some people are staying in the old paradigm. And, just on that topic, to me, it's so fascinating. August is really going to, as the old adage and the astrological adage goes, separating the sheep from the goats, basically, is occurring. The people who are going to stay in the old paradigm of life. And I'm seeing a lot of couples splitting up right now. A lot of people coming to me for readings regarding that sort of thing, because we are seeing partners who one partner is choosing to stay in the old paradigm, the old materialistic, earthbound way of thinking, doing, relating, follow the rules, the government's always right, etc., etc. And they want to stay in that paradigm because it's safe. It's what they've always known. Or maybe they're just not very spiritually oriented, so it wasn't their lifetime to wake up. No judgment. That's their choice. That's the path they want to go. And yet often they're married to people whose souls are awakening in this lifetime, whose souls are up-leveling, who want to go to the next level of vibration. And so being together, it's like chalk and cheese. The magnetism ends, the connection ends. So we're seeing a lot of people ending and resolving karmic relationships that might have been playing out over thousands of years and many lifetimes. They're all, not all, but there's many relationships ending under this influence as one partner goes in one direction and the other partner goes in the other. And I point that out now because I really feel August is a defining time for a lot of that to happen. A lot of people already have split. That's been the cause of the last 2 years, has been a cause rather of that sort of thing unfolding, and people have been, it's a tragedy and it's so unfortunate. But is it if people are up leveling and leaving behind old karmic loops, old karmic partnerships, old karmic patterns, is it a bad thing? I don't think so. I think that we're all on our individual soul journey and we need to follow where that takes us. It is tragic when people separate and children are involved and there's violence and horrible issues and things like that. and you know, people go crazy and what have you. But really, when people are seeking their highest good and to follow their soul journey, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think separation is a bad thing. So that's my 2 cents. And I think August, coming back to why I'm talking about this, August is a catalyst month for a lot of that sort of stuff to happen and to unfold in the lives of many people. It's been building for a long time, and as you've seen through my initial explanation, I think it's going to explode out a lot, not only this week, but in the coming weeks of August, where that occurs. But anyway, enough of my 2 cents. Thanks for listening. Let's have a look at the all signs breakdown. We're having Venus opposite Pluto, and I want to focus on the Venus energy, which is in Cancer, and Pluto opposing the whole deal, the whole big shebang in Capricorn. So the opposition here for Cancer people is in the 7th house, first house axis, the relationship axis. Now, this is going to mean that for Cancer, rising, sun, moon people, then relationships could be at the crux of focus for you this week. You know, your ability to hurt feelings, as I said in the introduction, heightens emotional sensitivities. But above all, I think for Cancer people, what's going to happen is that they're going to have their relational scars brought to the surface. Where have you been wounded in relationships? And this can be in marriages, but it can also be in a business partnership or a client relationship. You know, where have you been scarred by some sort of partnership or partnering up experience? Those sorts of things are now going to be brought to the surface for you. Where are you codependent? Are you codependent? Are you in a savior-victim relationship? Are you afraid of rejection and you run from relationships all the time, so you always remain single? Do you let trust issues ruin your relationships? These issues, they're relationship issues, and there's many, many more. That's just a handful off the top of my head. They're going to be brought to the surface for you to deal with over this week, Venus opposite Pluto. You're going to be forced to face the truth with self-love regarding relationships. Where are you honoring the self? Where are you, dishonoring yourself in relationships and not standing up for what is truth for you, what is real for you, what your needs are? Where are you, forced to face the truth in sort of relational, financial situations as well? Maybe you've got a partner who's a spendthrift and they're just constantly splashing the cash around and you're having to always pick up the pieces. Well, that's going to be, come to a crux now, and you're going to be rubber hits the road with that sort of thing as well. Because Venus is relationships, yes, but Venus is also finances on the relationship axis, being activated by a very intense Pluto at the final degrees of Capricorn. So you might find a partner being very obsessive, jealous, manipulative, controlling, even Pluto in the 7th house abusive under this energy. So forewarned, forearmed, beautiful Cancer friends. Guard your health, guard your physical body right now. First house is you and your body. Guard your spirits and your vibration and your energy now, because it could be quite a difficult time, but ultimately it's going to lead you to a place of empowerment if you can take your power back in whatever relationship dynamic you're in, where somebody is sort of, crossing the lines, crossing the boundaries of what is appropriate and what is not. So that's what I'm saying for my beautiful Cancer friends. Now, we're going to go to our Leo rising sun or moon. Leo rising sun or moon friends. Let me just set this up so it doesn't wobble around and we can keep everything on track. Well, we're seeing Pluto opposing Cancer on the axis of, Pluto opposing Venus in Cancer on the axis of the 12th house to the 6th house. Now, this is going to involve karma for Leo people, very, very much so. So relationship issues that pop up now are going to be hugely karmic. How you're dealing with, maybe it's a relational partner, or maybe you're dealing, with a child, or it could be with an enemy. 6th house is our enemies, somebody at work. It's all going to be very karmically activated now. So your enemies, your children, your partner, there might be triggering in your life some old karmic belief, karmic attitude, karmic behavioral pattern, and it's going to come up and you're going to be like, why do I always do this? Why do I always self-sabotage? Why do I always allow these codependent relationships to be in my life? Why do I always allow myself to run away from situations because I fear rejection? Things of that nature are going to be brought up for you to actually consider. Why are there karmic loops? 12th house is karma. Like the loops that we keep repeating and repeating from past lives. Why do I always go through these things? So they're going to be brought to the surface for you to deal with now, and it will be triggered by someone else. Most likely, I've mentioned partners, I've mentioned children, but most likely an enemy. You might not know they're your enemy, but they might say something and you're like, you have really not got my back, have you? You are really against me flourishing in the world. And cha-ching. Oh, sorry, mate. Third eye is getting itchy there. So, gosh, I'm a Leo. I hope this isn't going to happen to me. But somebody who you think may have your back might actually not, and be sort of working behind the scenes, manipulative, Pluto, to cause you to not flourish and not thrive and not survive in the world. And you might be faced with having to deal with that right now. So there could be some hurt feelings, heightened sensitivities, forced to face the truth about a person who you thought was a friend, it's actually an enemy, forced to face the truth about your own karmic patterns, karmic loops. You might find that there's a lot of expenses this week that result in some losses, so do be very cautious about your money. I'll have to be aware of that myself, maybe put some parameters in place on my budget. And there can also be some intensity and some emotion. I've described a few ways this could express, but it could quite simply express in you having, I was very close to my Nana, and she's long passed away, and I might find under an energy like this that my remembrance of her, my recollection of her, my love for her bubbles up in my consciousness again, and I feel that old ache for her not being in my life right now, not sharing the journey with me any longer. So it could be as simple as that. There's intense emotions we experience about some loved one who has passed. So that's what I'm seeing could be unfolding for our Leo, Sun, Rising or Moon friends this week. Virgo, Sun, Rising or Moon people, well, the energy for you guys is falling, and this week we're looking at Pluto opposite Venus. It's falling for you on the 11th house, 5th house axis. What does this mean for you guys? Well, this is the house of romance and dating and having fun in that get to know you phase, or that, dating phase, boyfriend, girlfriend phase of relationships. But you know what? Your relationships of that nature might be triggering some scars for you, like maybe your boyfriend does something really special for you, buys you a certain present, but it triggers like an old memory from a past relationship that, causes you to be afraid of rejection, or consider like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to be codependent and I don't want somebody being so clingy, or maybe it brings to the surface some sort of trust issues that you've got with trusting another person. So it could be anything. I've just given you some example relational issues, and of course there's a bazillion different kinds. So just be aware that there could be something that a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a lover of some sort does that brings some sort of relational scars and woundings to the surface. Emotions can be very tense, as can, with Pluto involved here, obsessions and jealousies. You might find your boyfriend, who was cruisy as anything beforehand, suddenly gets really jealous because you're talking to the barista at the local coffee shop like he's your best buddy, and hang on a minute, he's not real happy about that. So, we could have these sorts of out of the box, like where did that come from, experiences. There could be also some hurt feelings and heightened sensitivities with our children as well, because this is amplified in the house of children to house of friends even as well. So friends, children could cause us to feel a little bit sensitized, a little bit hurt, a little bit, rejected. They might be the triggers. It mightn't be a lover. It might be our friends or our children who trigger these issues of hurt and wounding and deep relational scars, Our friend might, cancel on us, and we're going to go to the movies, and then at 5 minutes before the movie is about to start, she cancels and rings and says I can't be there, and you're like, oh, that really just gives me those vibes of being rejected or being let down, or nobody's got my back, and you go into this state of despondency because a friend has somehow hurt your feelings under this energy. So it could be a friend, or it could be a child that forces you to face the truth with self-love or with relational scars, but also with finances. Maybe you've got a child and you've spent a lot of money on them studying the saxophone or something, and then all lo and behold, they do you bought a saxophone, you've paid for a year's worth of lessons, the child does 3 lessons and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it really pushes your buttons regarding finances and financial investments in your children. Intense emotions are the results. That could happen under this influence as well. So forewarned, forearmed, there could be a few triggering experiences regarding this energy to do with friends and to do with fifth house things, children. We've got to balance this out. We've got to balance out being able to trust and being able to honor ourselves regarding relationships and finance. But more especially in these houses, I think honoring the self is really where it's going to be at. And that's why a lot of these traumas and imprints are going to be brought to the surface. That's what Pluto loves to do, to bring things up so that we process it, compost it, and release it. And Virgo, that's really what's on the cards this time. There's going to be some triggers that happen that are going to force you to face the truth about yourself so that you can ultimately be free and move forward in life a little less, with a little less baggage, shall we say. But that's if you can deal with it effectively and honor it when these things come up. Sit with it, process it, maybe journal about it or do some therapy about it or whatever you need to do. So that's what I'm seeing with Virgo friends. For Libra rising, sun or moon, well, we're having the Pluto-Venus annual. It happens every year, but the annual Pluto-Venus opposition is occurring in the 10th house to the 4th house energy. And so this is a big one. Whenever anything's angular, it becomes very pronounced and we experience it quite strongly. And this is the parental axis. So for our Libra friends, it could be our parents, or it could be some sort of parental figure, like an authority figure or a matriarchal figure, a maternal type figure. It could be a grandmother, could be just a very nurturing aunt, or it could be somebody who's been like a father to us or something like that, where they're actually causing some triggers for us around our old karmic loops. Pluto is karmic trauma and Venus is our relational stuff, just to name a few things that they rule. 2 things actually, but they rule a lot more things than that, but that's the main crux of the deal when these guys are in opposition. And so our parents might trigger a hurt or a sensitivity that we've got around a relationship, maybe a relationship with them. Or it could be just, now I finally understand why I always run from relationships. Once it gets serious, I'm out of there. Oh, look at my mum and dad. Okay, they're behaving in this way. Now it makes sense why I behave in XYZ way, So it's watching our parents, it's conversations with our parents, or it's just memories of our parents or something that triggers why we have trust issues, why we have codependency, why we have certain issues in our relationships. And when those things come up, what Pluto is asking us to do is deal with it so that we can compost it, get it out of our psyche so that it's not going to be a baggage problem in the future. So nice and easy, isn't it? If anyone's out there has ever tried to deal with old, karmic baggage, it's not that easy. It requires probably dealing with layers upon layers upon layers of issues for a lifetime, to try and resolve. But this is going to be another one of those opportunities to move more into a resolution with things. Now, it could be finances. I've talked relationship triggers, but it could be financial triggers. Maybe you realize, oh, my mum, she always did this and that and the other, and that's why I'm such a tight ass now, or my parents and their dynamic with money, with finances was XYZ, looked like this, and that's why I now struggle to save, or I struggle to take out a loan because I don't want to be like that, or whatever. we can see ourselves reflected in the dynamics that we either had with our parents or that they had between one another. There can also be some intense emotions, some obsessions, some jealousies that you might observe or recall that played out between your parents. There might even be some that are happening between you and your parents now. So these things are going to come up for you to deal with, process and navigate over the week ahead, Libra. It doesn't necessarily mean bad experiences, just triggering experiences that you're going to need to work through and process. So that's what I'm seeing for my Libran friends. For Scorpio rising, sun or moon people, well, the energy of Pluto opposite Venus is falling between your 3rd house, 9th house axis. And this axis has to do with knowledge, gaining knowledge, and sharing knowledge as well. So there might be something, you might go on a trip or something like that, Scorpio people, just maybe a short trip. It could be a long distance trip. Either way, there's a restlessness here. You might go on some sort of a trip because you're wanting to sort of run away from a circumstance, like maybe a relationship or a financial situation, or somebody says something, and when I say relationship, it could be a marriage, it could be a, business partnership or something, and you're like, that's it, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm going away. I'm going to have some time out. I'm going to run away. So you might go on a trip to a nearby town instead of facing, up to your spouse and sorting out a problem. You might take a holiday because there's been some financial difficulties and with a business partner, and you're like, I just can't deal with this anymore. I just need to get my head together. I'm going to go and have a break. That sort of thing could happen. But really what we're dealing with is hurt feelings and heightened sensitivities that might see us running to and losing ourselves in either a restless energy, like I said, going on a trip, or putting our head in the books, learning things, throwing our head into sort of trying to understand, trying to make sense of why I'm feeling the way I am. And that's probably a healthy way to deal with it, quite frankly. If there are relationship hurts and wounds and sensitivities now, then maybe you need to jump online and do some Googling and what have you, or get out a relationship book and try and understand, what's codependency, what are savior-victim relationships, what are controlling relationships, and so on. Because relationship scars and wounds to the psyche are often triggered when Pluto is opposite Venus. So that's what's going to be occurring, and the way you're probably going to handle it is by going into 12th house, 3rd house things, learning, travel, trying to understand things at a mental level. It's a very mental axis, the 3rd house, 9th house. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes to understand things mentally can help us process things emotionally. So I'd encourage you to absolutely take that course of action. You might like to also communicate or chat with some sort of inspirational figure or a mentor or a guru or something like that. You might come across a guru who can help you process and deal with those sorts of things too. You will be forced to face the truth with finances, relationships, and also where you self-sabotage and where you let yourself down at this time. So it's through your belief systems that you might find some sense of balance. It's through having a little adventure. It's through learning something new. It's through researching, through studying, through learning something that you might find you can put things back into balance again and understand things from a deeper perspective. So that's what I'm seeing for Scorpio rising, sun or moon people. Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people, well, the energy of Pluto opposite Venus is falling for you in the 8th house, 2nd house realm. Now, this is a monetary axis, 8th house, 2nd house. So there is a real need to balance financial issues, the financial issues of your partner and the financial issues of yourself. What is being triggered here, Sagittarius, is there might be some sensitivities around money in your relationships. Could be a business partnership, could be a relationship with your children, could be a relationship with a spouse or a friend, any type of relationship, but something around money might be being triggered. Their money versus your money, and how are things, being handled. So when this happens, it's likely that what's going to come up for you guys is a need to deal with some old financial, I would say, issues around maybe a poverty mentality, a wealth mentality, maybe different attitudes towards money between you and another person that gets triggered here, where you have to be responsible and self-sufficient, and where somebody else is mooching off you might be a triggering, where people are just taking you for granted as well, not appreciating you, not offering you the recognition and the honoring that you deserve for what you are materially contributing to a person's life. That could be a triggering thing that comes up with this aspect as well. Very, very sensitive axis. Money is one of the most triggering things in relationships, of all sorts of relationships as well. So I feel it's very financially oriented for you guys this week, Sagittarius, where money is a cause of a lot of argy-bargy and frustrations that are going to bring things to the surface. It might bring up, like, money issues between you and somebody else might bring up and reveal to you where you're being codependent. Oh, they need me to provide for them, and if I'm not here, then they're going to be out on the street, and so I can be the savior. Savior-victim relationships are the worst kind of codependency. Oh, Lord, don't get me started. It's not healthy. When we're in those sorts of relationships, we actually enabling let's face it, the shitty behavior of one partner, and we're self-aggrandizing who we are and how wonderful we are, because look at us, we're taking care of them. No, we're all individuals on this planet having a journey through life, and we're responsible for ourselves, and we can partner up with someone to make the road a little easier, but nobody is responsible for anybody else's happiness. That's a personal, that's my responsibility for my happiness, no one else, So money could be a trigger of where you're codependent, or where you're in a savior-victim kind of relationship, or where you're afraid of dealing with rejection, or, money might be the trigger that some financial situation might be the trigger that shows you where the trust issues are in your relationship. I can't trust them with money. I have to handle it. I have to control it all the time. So for Sagittarius rising people, there's really going to be some sensitivity around finances this week that is going to show you to your true self, because that's the whole purpose of this transit. But it's through some sort of intensity, it's through some sort of maybe hurt feelings, through some sort of revelation that really pulls the wool from your eyes. So forewarned, forearmed, beautiful Saggy friends, it could be quite a confronting experience, because money is such a sensitizing topic in most of our lives. Certainly in the West it is anyway. Capricorn rising, Sun or Moon people, well, the energy of Pluto opposite Venus in Cancer is falling on the relational axis. So for you guys, I'll just make sure my wheel doesn't go for a walk. I really do need to get it fixed. Sometimes it's really good, and then I might adjust something on it and it just goes to rubbish. The trials of my astro wheel. But for you guys, Venus is in your 7th house and Pluto's in your 1st. So this is the relationship axis, and all sorts of relationships. The relationship you have in a contractual agreement between you and your lawyer. The relationship that you have between you and your marriage partner, but you and your business partner. Excuse me, you and your clients, you and your, you and anyone you've got a contract with. The 7th house is contractual agreements. So any relationship really is going to be a triggering factor for you this week to take a good look at yourself, a look at your psyche, to deal with some old karmic loops or some old habits or some old belief systems that perhaps don't serve you any longer and need to be released. So it could be that some other person in your life shows you to yourself and shows you where you're codependent, shows you where you're afraid of rejection, so you run all the time, shows you where you have trust issues. So other people are going to be triggering for you this week. Just realize that. That's what this energy is all about. But there is a purpose to it. They're going to, your sensitivities to other people are going to be heightened this week, but they're going to force you to face the truth about who you are how much you love yourself or don't love yourself, how much you self-sacrifice for the sake of other people, and where your financial situation is as well. Other people will trigger that too, because Venus rules finances. Venus actually being in the 7th house means that you might be a trigger to other people about their financial situation, quite frankly. And so, you know, maybe you've got a client like a service giver relationship with a client, 7th house, and they haven't paid, you know, and you have to get on the case. You have to get the debt collector to come and get the money. And so that triggers them with their finances. But it also triggers you with a bit of self-worth and self-love, Capricorn, because you did the work. You deserve to be paid. You're just going to let it slide, or you're going to actually take action to honor the self. You know, you deserve that money. You earned that money. Are you going to let it go or not? Like, this is the kind of thing that could play out this week. Venus opposite Pluto, like self-love versus finance between you and other people, you know. They're the scenarios that we're looking at. So it is quite intense. It can be quite emotional and quite draining. But the purpose is that like what Pluto wants to achieve is for you to take a deep look within yourself and say, oh, hey, I'm not honoring myself here, or I need to honor myself better in these relationships, and then make the changes necessary. Take the action required to balance things in your life where they're out of kilter, where they're out of balance. So Capricorn, this is what you're being called to review in your life. And Pluto-Venus opposition is going to trigger that on the 9th of August through some experience with another person. So forewarned, forearmed, my beautiful Capricorn friends. Okay, Aquarius rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of this opposition between Pluto and Venus is falling on the 11th house, 6th house axis. So what we're seeing with this, I'm just going to hold my astro wheel straight. What we're seeing with this is that there's going to be some sort of probably somebody who's like an enemy in your life, whether you realize they are or not. They are functioning as an enemy. They might be sort of doing some manipulative stuff behind your back or something, but some sort of enemy in your life, somebody who's nasty, and maybe it's a co-worker who's trying to bring you down. I used to have a co-worker like that. Oh, don't even get me started. You know, somebody like that is going to trigger certain things in you that are going to be highly karmic. 12th house is past life wounds. Pluto in the house of past lives, in the house of Pluto represents traumas. So some enemy, probably a woman, a female co-worker, like Venus, and Venus is women, younger woman, triggers in you, Aquarius rising, some old karmic wound, some old karmic trauma, something to do with where you maybe self-sabotage, where you did not love yourself and you allowed other people to walk all over you in some way. Maybe it might be a sort of financial situation where somebody took advantage of you or manipulated you and you lost money or something. Somebody, an enemy, some challenging person in your life is going to trigger some old memory. Now, if it's not from a past life, because, I mean, how do we know if it's from a past life or not? I mean, unless we're done a million past life regressions and we really know who we were, then how do we really know? But it could be from, if it's not from that, it could be earlier this life, you know? Somebody says something mean to you in the workplace and it brings back an old recollection from when you were a child and something your sister said to you that really hurt and really wounded you and really shattered your confidence in some way. So we might be having something from the past coming back into our life that triggers some difficulty, some memory, some intense emotions. Let me just think, how else might this be expressing? Well, financially, yes, there could be something, you know, a co-worker does something financial, but mostly I'm really feeling the self-love issue here, where we self-sabotage, where we get in our own way more than anything because past life stuff. But Pluto wants to bring things to the surface so that we have a look at them and say, oh my goodness, that is me. I operate in this karmic loop. When am I going to let that go? When am I going to stop living that same old repeating pattern? letting myself down, not standing up for myself, not asserting myself. That is why this triggering is happening, so that you will see it in yourself and do something about it. Now, in the 12th house, when Pluto's in the 12th house, it's a great time to be doing therapy, art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy, psychotherapy, reading psychological books, doing, looking at psychology deeply. And I would encourage you this week, if something is triggered in you by somebody else, by an enemy, or maybe if it's not an enemy, it could be by your own ill health. 6th house is, some sort of health issue, health concern, bad diet, inability to exercise, or frustration with exercise, something like that, triggers some issue. I'll give you an example, Aquarius. I mean, I'm not an Aquarius person, but I've got this shocking foot issue, which has meant that I haven't been able to exercise for about 2 months now, since sort of around the 24th of June, and month and a half, and it's I can't dance, I can't go for walks, I can't do anything, and it's so frustrating to me. That issue, a health issue, is causing me, I must say, to look very deeply at who I think I am, my limitations in life, and how much I love myself, because I'm forced to sit and read a book instead of go for a walk, or I'm forced to ponder on my relationship situation instead of sort of losing myself in a dance session or something like that, which is something I usually love to do. So my health is causing me to go within for many reasons. So that's just an illustration of how this might play out. There's maybe a health issue, a diet issue, that causes you to start to think about who you are and why there's repeating patterns and cycles in your life that maybe need to be changed. So I hope that makes sense, Aquarius. This is a very deep psychological transit, but we really need to do the work now, Aquarius friends. We absolutely need to do the work now, because this month, August, is one of the most transformative months we are going to go through in the whole year. So doing the work helps us up level to a large degree, and that's what I want for all my followers, to be able to raise their vibration even more. Okay, thank you, Aquarius. Now, Pisces rising, sun or moon people. The energy of Pluto opposite Pluto opposite, what am I talking about? Pluto opposite Venus in Cancer is falling in the 5th house, 11th house axis. So, forearmed, my beautiful Pisces friends. This is the axis of friends, children, and lovers. And so we might be, triggered emotionally by a friend, by a lover, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, by our children, into facing a side of ourselves that we might have been in denial of. That's very Pluto. Pluto is where we've hidden things in the basement. But Pluto's also shining that torch down in the basement and showing you what all that muck that's down there that you need to deal with. So it's likely to get triggered this week by usually a female person, like a girlfriend, for me that would be a friend, or it could be, if you're a man, it could be your actual girlfriend, it could be your daughter, could be, usually someone feminine when it's Venus involved. And they're going to show you, okay, where are my trust issues in relationships? Oh my God, I've got so many of them. I need to learn to open my heart and be more trusting. Where am I codependent? Where am I functioning like savior victim in my relationships? All these issues are going to be brought to the surface to deal with and compost now. Now, for our beautiful Pisces friends, this could look like maybe a friendship that goes through a really rough trot, intense emotions with a friend, or obsessions, heightened sensitivities, hurt feelings. These could all be on the cards through an incident with a friend. Maybe let's say that you've had a relationship with somebody and your friend did not approve, and they decide now's the time they're going to give you a piece of their mind and tell you what they really think, and it absolutely destroys the nature and the fabric of the friendship that you had. that's an incident like that could be very wounding, and it could unfold under this transit. Could be very wounding, but it's going to trigger you to think, okay, well, where am I codependent, and where am I, where have I leaned too much on my friends, or too much on my children, or too much on my lovers, and where do I need to be in my own truth here and honor myself and my self-love? The other way that this could express is that a friend or a child or a lover might trigger your financial jumpiness. You know, maybe they spend all your money, or maybe the child loses your credit card or something like that, and you're forced to face the truth about, oh, I haven't been managing my money well, or I let people take me for granted in what I provide for them, or my use of money in their lives has been, they've just took me for granted, took my money for granted, or something like that. Or I don't honor myself enough by saying stop playing with the credit card to my children when they shouldn't be. Things like that. Money triggers come from other people, and it would, in this instance, it would be from a friend, it would be from a lover, or it would be from a child that we might be triggered financially. Somebody spends all our money and it drives us bonkers, So these are some of the issues that might come up. It's going to be passionate. It's going to be intense this week under this influence. So forewarned. Forearmed, beautiful Pisces people. A lot of similarities this week for most people, because it is a very relationally focused reading that we're looking at here. When we're looking at Pluto, Venus, we're talking karmic, difficult relationship stuff that needs to be healed. Aquarius rising, sun or moon people, well, this this axis of Pluto, Venus, which is all about relationships, is falling in the parental axis for you guys. So I'm really feeling like your life foundation, your emotional core strength, is going to be somehow triggered by sort of parental figures, authority figures in some way. So it could be the government, it could be the rule makers in your society, in your community. It could be a matriarchal energy, like your Italian mama who, tries to pull you into line and, lay it on the straight and narrow for you. That's very maternal versus paternal. So these things, like somebody who is maybe like a father to you, it might be your actual father, it could be a mother or a mother figure to you, might be triggering some sort of sensitivities, some emotionalism in your life this week. Beautiful Aries friends. So, maybe you might be forced to face the truth about your relationship with your parents, and see it for what it really is, where you've been codependent on your parents, where they have caused you to be afraid of relationships. Maybe they had such a bad relationship themselves that you grew up and thought, I'm never going to get married, or I'm never going to have a partner because I don't want to have a life like my parents had. We are going to be able to see plain and clear this week where our parents have influenced our relational patterns, and why we've chosen, certain partners ourselves, certain financial decisions based on what we were taught in our early years by our parents. Trust issues, codependency, rejection fears and things like that. They're all going to be brought to the surface right now. So it is a biggie for Aries friends, Aries rising, sun or moon friends, where there's going to be a lot of focus on healing the past in order to be able to go forward into the future. Now, Pluto in the 10th house says it would be a good idea to get a therapist, a professional person, to help you deal with some of these old triggers that might come up this week. Because Pluto is therapy, and it's in the 10th house of professional assistance. So I would highly recommend that this week if you find areas that you're not handling some of the triggers that come up for you to deal with. But really what this is calling us to do is to take action. An opposition requires us to take action to bring things back into balance. So when you're thinking about your parents, or something the government's done, or something that some matriarchal person has done, write these things down, note what they are, and start working through the issues in order to heal and compost. Pluto is to compost those old chestnuts. Thank you, Aries friends. Now, Taurus rising sun or moon people, the energy of Pluto opposite Venus is falling in the 3rd house, 9th house axis. I do find this axis probably one of the most challenging ones to get my head around. I think like the 3rd house is very small scale, like short trips, group workshops and so forth, and the 9th house is the very large scale version, long trips to other cultures and big high level, certificate, university degree courses and things like that. So, they're on the same par, but they're at different extremes of influence, let's say. So when we're having this opposition of Pluto-Venus here, it could be that a university lecturer, 9th house, or it could be, Taurus, that somebody in a workshop with you, or somebody who's just, maybe it might be a social media person, a YouTuber, a blogger, somebody on Instagram, just triggers you in some way and shows to you through maybe, like you might be watching this, and something that I say as a YouTuber triggers you into going, oh, hang on a minute, I am so freaking codependent. I never even realized. I'm always afraid of rejection. I have trust issues in relationships. I'm in a savior-victim relationship. I'm enabling my partner to do all this crappy stuff to me. It might be through one of these people where the reality hits home and where the trigger happens, that you see the truth. This is a time this week of hurt feelings, heightened sensitivities, intense emotions, and so forth. I would encourage you to, in order to deal with these sorts of things and issues when they come up, firstly do therapy around it, maybe journal, do an art piece that sort of expresses how you're feeling about something, dance, whatever kind of therapy is your bag. I'm not here to tell you how to do therapy, but there are many, many options for dealing with deep, ingrained psychological issues. But what I would say is you might be able to work on healing yourself through doing some sort of 9th house, 3rd house activity. Do a workshop, maybe join a group where you're processing things, an art therapy class or something like that, and where you can process a lot of this stuff. That would be very 3rd house and a great way to deal with it, Taurus. Or a dance workshop, maybe you might like to sort of study some sort of psychological topic. Okay, enablers, what's that all about? Controlling partners, what's that all about? Okay, I'm going to start buying a few books and doing a deep dive into some highly psychological, intellectual topic around this issue, So, those sorts of things can be very helpful for processing the triggers that come up this week. And you might also like to speak to a guru or an inspirational figure. There might be some, like I said before, YouTuber or blogger or Instagram person. There might be some author, because the 9th house is publishing. There might be some author who's written some fabulous books that can help you deal with and approach those issues that will be triggered and that might come up for you regarding relational things this week. But it could also be financial things, because here's Venus being triggered by Pluto. It could be financial issues and wounds that come up that you'll might want to address and do a workshop on. Maybe you have a habit of just always like what do they call it? Comfort eating. Is one thing, but comfort spending, like you're miserable, so you get online and you buy a big Shein order just to make you feel better, and then you look at your bank account and go, oh my goodness, now I'm broke, now I feel even worse. So, issues around finances, online, particularly online shopping, 3rd house, that can really trigger a lot of self-love issues, self-worth issues, maybe issues around trauma, where you're constantly spending money, potentially online, as a source of comfort, instead of dealing with the real topic, the deep psychological topic that Pluto wants you to address. So those sorts of issues can come up this week too. Forced to face the truth about your finances, forced to face the truth about self-love, self-worth, self-valuing, and your own sense of joy. Venus is to, find love in life, and that's personal love in life as well as relationships. So you might be forced to face the truth around those things too. So that's what I'm seeing, beautiful Taurus friends. Gemini rising, sun or moon people, thank you for waiting until the end, my gorgeous Gemini buddies. The energy of Pluto and Venus is falling on the financial axis of the second house, 8th house. Now, the second house is your resources that support your body through life, Gemini, and the 8th house is the resources of your partner. So there might be your partner with Pluto here might be controlling their resources very strongly. And that might be affecting your ability to spend money. Second house is go shopping and, buying things and maybe some indulgences and what have you. And there might be a bit of a control issue between you and your partner. Now, I'm talking marriage partner here, but it could be a business partner. Maybe you want to spend some money on a business. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're a dentist and you want to spend money on a new dental chair. It's going to set you back $20,000 or something on a new dental chair, but your business partner says, no, hang on a minute, no, I'm controlling the finances and no, we're not going to spend that. And so there's this issue that's triggered by some kind of a relationship in your life, be it a marriage, be it a business partnership, be it a client related, like whatever it looks like, but somebody else. Remember, oppositions are always about other people in our lives. Triggers something regarding finances, I think, for you this week and forces you to face the truth about finances. So your partner, and I feel it'll be the other person who's controlling things and prohibiting you from running out and spending the money, that action is going to force you to look at yourself. Okay, well, am I frivolous with money? Can I be trusted with money? Why do they have trust issues with me and money? Why don't they think that I can handle my own budget? And going through all these processes might be very karmic. Pluto is karma and karmic trauma. And so this could be a repeating karmic pattern that's coming up, where maybe you had an experience in a past life, because Pluto is very past life oriented. It's the journey of the soul. Maybe you had an experience in a past life of you ended up in the poorhouse because you spent the family inheritance or something like that. And so now there's some issues in your life, maybe some trust issues of yourself. You don't trust yourself with money because you had this terrible experience in a past life. This second house has to do with our family, sort of what we get from our family in Vedic astrology. That's what second house has to do with. So you might be, revisiting some old karmic trauma that you had around poverty and going to the poorhouse. And do I trust myself enough? And this person who is trying to control your spending triggers that, oh my God, am I trustworthy? Maybe I'm drawing this into my life to reveal certain things around my ability to manage money. And maybe I need to do a budgeting course. And maybe do you see what I'm saying? So somebody is going to be an activator in your life this week of how you handle finances and cause you to take a deep look at where are my hang-ups around poverty mentality coming from? Where are my issues around maybe tight-assness, whatever your financial issues are, and why do I feel the way I do? Somebody's going to trigger that in you. Somebody's also going to trigger you to look at, well, how much do I love myself? If I'm never, for example, I'm going to give a really, probably quite a personal example here, but I've always put myself, I'm not a Gemini person, but I've always put myself last, and mothers tend to do this quite a bit. Are my kids fed, clothed, comfortable, happy, got all their entertainments and luxuries and pleasures, and are my kids happy? If the thumbs up, if yes, then okay, what's left over for me? Oh, enough to buy some cheap Target undies, instead of going and buying some lovely items that I might otherwise like, we put ourselves last. Now, That's something that mothers just tend to do. Make sure that the nest is feathered, and then worry about themselves. Put their health last, put their beauty needs last, put their, their well-being needs last. But regardless of whether you're a mother or not, doing that this week where there's a trigger from another person to your house of self-love is going to cause you to, some trigger, some activation, it's going to cause you to go, okay, well, where am I not honoring what I need, what I want, And that could be in any realm. Maybe I've denied myself love because I think I don't deserve it. So I've just put up with the partner that I've got, even though they don't sort of set me on fire, or even though I, it's not a soulmate connection or a twin flame connection. It's just I put up with it. Where am I denying myself true love? Why am I denying myself true love? Or that might be one expression of this. It could be, where am I, not allowing self-love in terms of my financial situation, always giving money away to everyone else, and there's never enough food in the cupboard for me, or I don't have a nice dress to wear to such and such's wedding because I've had to pay XYZ to somebody else for something else that was, maybe my kids, wanted a computer game and it meant I couldn't get a brand new dress for somebody's wedding, or, these sorts of scenarios where we deny ourselves. Somebody else is going to trigger us to look at our self-love, our self-worth, and how we honor ourselves this week. So when this happens, remember that I've said all this, and be prepared to do the work. The Pluto work is to take a deep, cold, hard look and then take action. Opposition energy is to take action to make changes for the better in your life. So this is not an issue going forward into the future. So thank you, my beautiful Zodiac family, for journeying with me around the horoscope this week to see what's unfolding, where the triggers are coming from, how we might be able to deal with it regarding Pluto-Venus opposition. I pray for you this week. I hope that you can navigate this first week of August with aplomb, because it is a bit of a hairy one. And it's just going to keep on that way for the rest of August, but hopefully it takes us to a higher level of understanding and conscious awareness. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you with an Astro Weather report again next week.